We are recording. So if you could state your name, spell it, and your business name and where you live currently, that would be awesome.
Perfect. My name is Jamie Wickler, JamieWickler, and the name of my farm is Wild Wicks Farm, and we're in Lakewood, Colorado.
Okay. And wild. Very
Okay.
nice.
So when I was really little, I wanted to be a shark biologist, like every little girl, right?
A shark biologist. Wow.
I think I was intrigued by wanting to travel and, just be in nature and go live on a boat, right? But then early on, people started telling me, you're really good at math. So they teachers and mentors told me, you should be an engineer. So that's the path I took. So since pre-middle school, I wanted to be an engineer. So where does that sound? And I wanted to, make the money, have a super fast dark green Porsche, and go downtown to my, super fancy job and go design things on the computer. So yeah, that's the path I kind of took. I graduated with a bachelor's in civil engineering. And yeah, I'm still engineering, just maybe not the traditional engineer. Still calculating, still problem solving and using all my science disciplines. But yeah, at least I know how to teach myself how to do anything that I need to in farming, which is helpful.
Definitely.
That's great. I think that's really the truth about life for most women is we take what we know we have and we are always going to try our best to make the best of it.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
And I feel like, engineering is a great foundation for a lot of things for me. So,
but also not traditional. Even today, I do a lot of work with engineering students, and in the background, when the men are somewhere else, I get to hear the discrimination, the misogyny, the exclusion. I've actually taught a couple of classes about how teaching women students how to deal with that, how to get past it. It's rough, kind of like agriculture, really. Except no Porsche. I don't know. Right, agriculture, exactly. You're not going to get a Porsche. Maybe you'll live in it.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably part of the reason that I did leave engineering was the misogyny behind it all, and just feeling like I never really had a place there. I never really felt comfortable. But I'm still grateful for the experience, and I learned a lot.
Well, the skill sets, as you pointed out, are really valuable. And also knowing that there is misogyny and it can be obvious or not obvious. I think that helps us. We were just talking about that, to move along, say, all right, let's be honest, let's put it on the table. You're being a snot. You're being wrong. You're not allowed to treat me like that kind of thing. And you're in a position to say that now, which you weren't maybe before. So good for you.
No, I feel like the next generations have a lot better, hopefully awareness of it all.
Yes,
I hope so. I'm not convinced, but I'm hopeful.
Well, your work is part of it. Your work is helping it.
Okay, good. All of us, really.
Yeah.
So what is your dream job?
That was a quick one to answer because I'm living it. I definitely feel like it just fell into my lap in certain ways. We worked really hard to get to where we're at, but being an urban flower and vegetable farmer / mom is everything I could have dreamed for. Now that I'm here, it's pretty great to feel like I get to say that is my job.
Well, hard work is part of all of it, isn't it? If you don't have a work ethic, you're not really probably going to go anywhere. So well done you. That's good.
Yes, it takes a lot.
So what inspired you to seek a career in agriculture, coming all the way from civil engineering to where you are today? And then, maybe say a little bit about what you're actually doing as far as your business and so forth. And
yeah, definitely.
To agriculture.
Go ahead. Oh,
yeah.
So at first it was that initial shock when I had found out, like became aware a lot of the issues going on in the food system and soil. It just shocked me to this core where the engineering side of me is like, I've got to fix this. I've got to figure out a way to make this better. And especially when I started thinking about, I was young at the time, I think 25, 26, and we were just starting to maybe think about kids, and I couldn't see bringing kids into the world. I mean, I was at such a place where it was like, oh my God, like, how can I bring kids into this? And so for me, it was like, okay, well, I've got to make my little world better if I want to look forward to the next generations. So, we just started tinkering in I think we were living in an apartment at the time. So we built a raised bed, and I just fell head over heels in love with farming. Like the deeper I got, I took a seasonal job at a farm. We bought a house. We started developing it into a farmstead. I mean, seriously, every class I went to, every day, my husband's like, whoa, what are you into now? Like, I'm so into garlic, or I'm so into beans right now. And absolutely everything about it just made me fall in love. And it awakes me. Like, I feel like my mind is awakened, my body, my soul. It checks all those boxes for me. And at the end of the day, I feel like accomplished and like my career is important. So yeah, that's kind of why I fell into agriculture. And now, so like I said, we started developing our farmstead. It's a third of an acre, single family residential, very urban. We are actually located in Lakewood, Colorado. So it's right in between Denver and the mountains.
Nice.
So we love it because the outdoors is right there. But we also have all the amenities, I guess, of city urban dwelling. Can go do just anything, ride a bike towards anything. So we love that. And yeah, we started there, and then we grew it. Like, I built every single portion of our house into the farmstead. And then we started buying rental properties. And yeah, we said, hey, this land is not going to be taken care of by our renters, probably. So we would love that land. Why don't we fence off a good portion of the backyard and start farming it? So they're about third of an acre as well. It's the farm portion's about an eighth of an acre, I would say, on each rental property site. So yeah, we just kept going with that thought, and we bought another rental property, and we bought another one. And so we're at 3 rental properties, and they all are within about a mile of each other.
Oh, nice.
Which makes it really nice for, hey, I forgot a shovel. Let's go to this one, and that's where the shovels are. Or hey, we gotta go over here and go harvest the tomatoes. We don't have to drive too far to go deal with it all. So yes, that's kind of where we just started taking off.
Each of the women we're interviewing, there's something that strikes me, a name, and it strikes me that you're Mother Earth. This soil speaking to you, all of it just singing to your heart, and then you go for it.
Oh yeah.
It just strikes me. That's so lovely. Yeah.
That makes me feel so, yeah, thank you. That's very sweet.
Yeah. So, you're next.
So you mentioned buying rental properties. So is there a certain formula that you look for when you're buying a rental property? Like, is there a certain amount of land? And tell us a little bit about applying for the money to get those or something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, it was very fortunate of us that we had a friend who is a real estate agent, and her niche is helping people kind of figure out investment properties. So she kind of basically took us under her wing and helped us navigate this whole thing, because this was a whole new thing for us of like applying for loans. How do we, I don't even know what to charge for rent. How do you write a lease? So she literally helped us, from step one, figuring out location. The formula for us that has seemed to work is near a college. So like I said, we're nestled in between the mountains in Denver, and there's a college nearby. And yeah, the rental properties near the college help pay for the mortgage. So I think that that's the biggest thing. You have to find a property that you can charge enough rent to pay for the mortgage payment. So yeah, we knew that those properties specifically in that area would do that. So we liked that because it was our alma mater as well.
Oh, nice.
That's helpful.
We just like those students, they're engineering students that they work hard, they work hard on school, and they don't necessarily have a ton of time to take care of the property, like the land area. So I knew that they wouldn't mind not having a backyard, and that they would appreciate what we are doing. Oftentimes we find them really interested in what we're doing, and that we were engineers, and this is where the path that we've taken. So it's really cool to share that story with them, and just involve them in it and show them what urban farming kind of looks like. So yeah, that was basically the path that we took. Was, okay, we've got this area, let's try and keep to this area so we're not driving across town. And yeah, they're about third of an acre, like I said. So if we can find properties, single family homes that have somewhat larger backyards, that's kind of the ones that we go for. And my husband is a Mr. Fixer-upper, so he knows how to fix just about everything, like a lot of farmers. So I think that this model does work for a lot of people that farm.
Yeah.
How to place a toilet, if you know how to retile a bathroom, if you know how to put in hardwood floor. A lot of those things are pretty easy for a farmer to figure out.
Are there any helpful tools that you've used to get going or to make a living? Or do you feel like you're making a living now?
Well, we are getting there. I would say the biggest thing that we did was slowly transitioning from, for me specifically, a paid farm job. My husband doesn't have a farm job, but for me, going from, having somebody else pay for me to be a farmer in the beginning is helpful. And I was fortunate enough in the beginning, my first seasonal job kind of transitioned more into a manager job where I managed an education program. So, I mean, how lucky is that? I get to learn more about farming and see all sorts of different models and kind of pick and choose what works and see, oh, I really like their wash stand. I'm going to, make a smaller version of it on my urban farmstead. So yeah, it was great to have that opportunity to slowly transition. My husband had the, full-time job with healthcare and was able to kind of pay for me to do that. So I know most, or at least a lot of people don't have that situation. So I feel fortunate for that. And then, yeah.
You had a benefactor. That's what I always say about my husband. I had many years where I would say, I'm not going to take a dime for what I do, so I can't be manipulated by the government. And so he would always say, well, he was my benefactor.
Yeah.
So instead of he was supporting me. So
Right.
it's just a nicer word.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yes, I'm very grateful for my benefactor to allow me to explore farming and fall so in love with it, and just slowly build our farm. And we were able to acquire a property and then build it out and take the time that we needed to. And then yeah, we took the loans from private individuals and from banks. And we had a very concrete business plan to present to them as to what we were doing. And we knew that rental properties would make the income that we needed to pay for those loans and the interest. So we just knew that farming wasn't going to pay for the urban farm loan that we would need. Just land is so expensive. Urban real estate is skyrocketing in Denver, I'm sure everywhere, but it just feels so inaccessible for just farmers. I don't see how you can pay for the the loan. So yeah, basically we use the rental income to pay for the land is kind of how we're really trying to make this sustainable and make an income.
I think that's genius.
Yeah, I do too. And the other thing is that farmland is going crazy as well, because a lot of people during COVID have decided that they're going to live with other people, particularly their family, an extended family. And so I've seen recently real estate companies specifically putting out there, we need farms. And they show a picture of a traditional barn, with a house, and that's what they're looking for, because these people are coming in with money and they're like, we're never going to be in the position where we can't see our mom anymore, or we can't see our kids. We're all going to live on this farm and we're going to do what? We don't know. But, and so maybe that's going to rescue small farmland plots, but this is brilliant, because there are lots of yards that nobody does anything with, and lots of fruit trees that already exist that people could organize to pick, and man, it's a whole local community kind of model, I think.
It really is. And we've had a few other property management people that have multiple properties contact us just about using, hey, we have this backyard that the renters really do not take care of. Would you guys want to farm it? We're not there yet to expand to that, but it's definitely a thought process of ours of, we don't necessarily have to own the land. It would be helpful, because then you definitely are putting in permanent and investing into the soil, all of those things. But if you have a good relationship with, I think, the owners of the property, I think it is worth the investment of developing it.
It seems like there's a lot of ways you could spin this model.
Oh yeah.
You could find renters that want to live there and actually be your farmer in exchange for part of the produce. I mean, I could just see my brain could just start going because there's just so many possibilities. Which is really brilliant.
Yeah,
definitely.
So where do you want to be in 5 years with your work and your personal life?
So our work and personal life is very mixed, I would say. So I'm going to start personal, then maybe go with some more of the work, and then back to professional or personal. So our biggest goal, I'd say, kind of our driving force for it all, is being as involved as we can with our kids, especially during COVID. I think that just really expressed it in the way our society has evolved. It's just we really want to be involved. We want to do a world of things with them. And one of them is urban farming, showing them an urban farm business, at least, just involving them in a business model. So yeah, I think at least, like I said, I hope we can acquire 2 more rental properties. So that would put us at 3/4 of an acre, which is a lot to manage when you're thinking multi-plots. 3/4 of an acre altogether is oh, okay, that might be doable for one person. But 3/4 of an acre multi-plot it's a lot. I love it because I love having things separated a bit, and you can crop rotate, and you can really have things kind of just separated for me. I know when I go to that plot, we're going to spend the day there. And once we get it done and looking good, I can leave it and I can feel really great, because I don't see the other properties and the management over there or whatever we need to do tomorrow.
That's smart.
Yeah, psychologically, that would work for me too. It's I would look up and go, no, keep going. Keep
going. Exactly. Oh no, we've got to do this.
Yeah,
exactly. Psychologically, it helps me a lot. So yes, we hope to be at a 3/4 acre in 5 years. And in that, increase our retail sales and a little bit more wholesale. And yeah, we just hope to make this urban farm property management model work, and be, a mentor for other people in the urban farm realm of just trying to figure out land is so inaccessible, and just paying for your own lifestyle. How would you ever do that living in an urban setting? So yes, I think just making it work. My husband and I being full-time and property managers would be ideal. This will be the first year he will be full-time farming. In the previous years, he's been working a full-time job and farming with me. So it's been a lot for him, especially never having a weekend. during
Yeah.
the summer is really
Oh,
hard.
yeah. So,
Um,
so who do you sell to? You're talking retail and then also wholesale. So who are your customers?
Yeah, we do farmers market. So we have a farmers market down by downtown that we do every Sunday. And then we do a front yard farm stand in our neighborhood. So there was a thing that passed in Denver area where you could do a front yard farm stand, and yeah, you don't have to have a permit in Lakewood. And all
Wow,
that thing.
that's
So
great.
it's really great. It doesn't make a ton of money, but it really involves us in the neighborhood a lot.
Definitely great
Yeah.
for
Have kids
people.
like coming by our house, like, when are the strawberries gonna be ready?
Yeah.
And you know, it's just a way to communicate to them and be like, oh, they'll be ready in a month, you know.
That's
So
lovely.
it feels really good. And so we do a CSA as well. So we have pickups at our front yard farm stand option, which was great during COVID. I think a lot of people were worried about going to farmers markets, and we were just worried if farmers markets were going to happen. So people are really looking for those small farm stands. And then, yeah, we do pick up at our farmers market as well. And then wholesale. So we do flowers as well. There's a wholesale collective for flowers that we sell to. And then, yeah, we do wholesale with, it's another organization that kind of aggregates a bunch of farmers' produce together and does like a larger CSA. So that's great to sell to them as well. And those are kind of the big ones. I wouldn't say like we produce such little, we haven't really delved into like grocery stores or anything like that, but those are the main wholesales.
It sounds really like a really solid kind of model to have these kind of partnerships where you're just adding a piece of something. So they need you. It's not, you're not there to provide everything for everybody, but it's a niche market, really. That
Totally.
sounds really smart.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'd say yeah, that's been a big part of our thing, is just partnering with other farmers. At one point we had a cooperative, a small cooperative of 5 of us small growers that we just all sold together, and it was such a great way to start. You know, you can really see what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You don't have to go all in before knowing everything, and you're just stronger as a group. You can really reach a broader market that way.
Can make mistakes without losing the farm, as they say. Yeah.
Exactly. And you might actually have a weekend off.
Well, there you go. Now that's really asking an awful lot. So what challenges have you faced in your particular part of the agriculture industry, and how have you overcome those challenges?
I'd say finances is kind of the biggest one that comes up as far as a challenge. It's just the margins are so slim in farming. So when you start doing the numbers, it's like, oh my gosh, how can you take on this risk when, you know, there's a chance you're going to get hailed out and you're not going to even make, you know, the $1,000 off those tomatoes that you need. So yeah, I was lost for a few years really in that realm of like, how do you make farming work? Like, it just like, how do you make it work? The cost, the time, the land, all the strains. And it's broken so many farmers in the area. Like every year it's just like, oh man, they're quitting now. Like, dang, like what's going on? How is this going to be sustainable? How can we, it's like almost a constant revolving door of like, okay, here's the new farmers that are in, and then they try it for a few years and then they, you know, get burnt out and then they have to quit. So yeah, we're fortunate enough that we had the capital and then my beneficiary to kind of explore.
The benefactor, yes, you're the beneficiary. You know, the thing that strikes me that I think I learned really early on in my life, not just as a farmer, but that I wanted to have more than one source of income. And I don't mean I wanted to have 2 jobs.
Yes.
I wanted to have, it's kind of like what you're doing with the yards, you know, with these small plots. You're saying, let's have a lot of plots. And then if something goes wrong with one of them, I still have the other plots.
Oh yeah.
And so I think it works that way in agriculture, that small is good because the margins are slim no matter how big or how small you are. But I think also you're doing the right thing about creating several, as I say, baskets with eggs in them. So when something goes south, you still have the ability to be resilient.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it feels good having it spread out a bit. It can be more work, but it feels less risky. It feels like some mitigation of risk is taken on there. Yeah. And I think, yeah, just exploring as many avenues of thinking outside of the box of how you can make this work is really important, because there are so many challenges that are in the forefront and then that come ahead. Yeah. And one that we specifically had just this past year that I would have never thought that we would have gone through this, but backflow preventers are being required to be updated on residential properties if you're going to farm and sell your vegetables in our area. So it isn't a big deal if you have like one plot. It could be like $1,000. I heard one lady had a $5,000 update she had to do in the area. But if you're multi-plots and you have, like us, 4 different sites, it could be like almost the nail in the coffin. Like, oh my gosh, like I never even thought that could come up to us. Again, somehow we are okay because my husband, he does that for a living. I mean, that's what his job is. So he'll be able to update our things without much cost. But still, it's just like heartbreaking to hear other farmers having to deal with it and close their sites, their multi-plots. And it's like, oh man, like, did they not know what they're doing? Like how that could have affected us. But
Probably do know what they're doing. They
Right.
probably do.
They probably do, which is
Some of the bigotry, some of the prejudice that the big boys, the industrial complex brings back at us when we're trying to do things that demonstrate resiliency and a new way of anything, really.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're fortunate enough, we have our farmers union chapter here that is really close. Like we definitely email all of each other and, hey, this is going on. So we've got a strong force behind us, at least working on it and trying to contact the necessary institutions to try and help mitigate this issue. But it was a big one. I just did not expect.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So, what advice do you have for moms seeking a work-life balance?
So if they have family or friends available, like flexible schedules, taking advantage of that as much as possible has been our lifesaver. Yeah, we try to arrange for like a regular schedule so that there's a routine there. Kids love routines. We love routines. The grandparents are the people that we kind of rely on. They love the routine of having the kids once a week. So if you can, try and give yourself some time off. It's helpful to have your work days where you can really focus, and then your work play days, and then play days has been super helpful for us. One thing this year, well, even last year, so I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm really struggling with it, but I'm trying to step back more and just let them navigate and entertain and care for themselves a bit more. And honestly, like it takes so much anxiety off of me just doing that for a second, not feeling like the pressure of, oh, what do they want to do next? Oh, I've got to come up with something. Oh, they need to drink, they know where their snacks are, their drinks are, they know that they can go and get those stuff. The 4-year-old's definitely, now that he's a little bit older, it's easier. He can help navigate and go get snacks for sister. But yeah, I'm amazed oftentimes of just their ability to entertain themselves. They'll grab a stick and they'll just sit there and squish it in the mud. And I'm just like, that is entertaining them way longer than anything that I've ever put out there for them. I'm just, and that feels good. I mean, I think that just makes me feel more full in my cup to be like, okay, now I can have, you know, the energy to follow him around and do something else. And yeah, it's a struggle, you know, keeping that balance for sure. I know every week it's almost like, oh man, when do I ever get a break?
Mhm.
But I think it's important to try and self-care as much as possible so that I have those times, you know, to spend one-on-one time with them and follow them on whatever adventure they want to do and not constantly be pushing them towards stuff.
Yeah. Well, it definitely helps to build their imagination as well, because when kids are, you know, like constantly scheduled, you know, you're going to do this and you're going to do this, they have no time to figure out what they actually like.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to know what they like and I want to know where they're headed. And it's fun to be a kid again, you know? You get to kind of live through their eyes and be like, oh, this mud is kind of cool.
That's
Let's
great.
push it for a while.
I do remember though, when I was a young farm wife and I had been a city girl, so dirt was kind of hard on me. And you could eat off my mom's kitchen floor. It was so clean all the time. But anyway, so I was digging this ditch and my daughter was like about 8 months old and she's sitting on the top of the pile of dirt and she's doing what you said, poking with the stick. And all of a sudden I hear this, and I look up and in was the worm, was she was just sucking it in like a noodle. And I'm like, I started screaming and I dove across the ditch to try to grab it, but it was gone, you know, down the throat.
It
And
already
I was sure I'd killed her. I mean, I was so horrified. I sat there and cried and rocked her and she's like, you know, what's going on? And I couldn't
Yummy.
I had to stop digging the ditch for a while because I'm like, oh my God, I need to put her in a cage or something because my kid swallowed an earthworm.
Oh, that's funny.
That was awful. I didn't tell anybody for a long time. My mom would have called up the police on me if she had known what happened. But these are the things, you know, when we have
Right?
kids, we
Oh,
have
yeah.
to realize that there are generations of people who grew up swallowing earthworms and
Yes.
digging in the dirt, and that's what made them creative people. And you know,
Yeah.
kids are going to have a big advantage over a lot of other kids because they have the ability to think. You know, that's a real advantage. You can't put money value on that, Jamie.
No, we boast quite a bit about our kids and we're like, yeah, our 4-year-old knows how to seed snap peas. And then
Oh, that's cute. That's very good.
yeah, we feel grateful.
So what's your go-to for self-care?
Yeah, I am definitely an outdoorsy girl. So I think getting up to the mountains any chance possible is so refilling my cup. And away from the farm, you know, like the farm's outside too, but there's tasks there and there's, you know, the management of it. Out in the mountains, I feel like I'm not managing anything. I'm just looking at the world and just taking a deep breath. So yeah, it definitely helps me a lot. And just recently we started a wellness group in the union I was talking about, our farmers union. And so regularly once a month, we're trying to schedule a hike together just to, you know, leave the kids at home and at least for me, leave the kids at home and go on a hike with some friends and farmers and just chat life or just not chat life and just walk around. So yeah, I'm excited for that. And hopefully we can keep up with it during the busy season. And yeah, if I can't get out there, then reading a book and journaling definitely helps me one step away, and journaling helps me organize my thoughts a lot more when I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's like, oh my God, I just need to write it down and relax.
Yeah. So what assistance do you know of for women in agriculture, if anything?
I surprisingly don't know a whole lot of assistance, but there is something that we started pre-COVID. So it was 2019 that we started it. It was a Lady Farmers Coalition where we just got together every now and then. It wasn't even like a scheduled thing. When one of us was willing to host everybody to come over, we just have drinks and laugh and just lay it all on the table without feeling too much ego. And yeah, it's just a great group of strong, kind-hearted women that, you know, have the best intentions, and you can just talk. I don't know. It feels so good to have those. And we missed them. I got so many emails last year about, when are we going to have another ladies coalition meetup? And yeah, just with COVID, it was like, I can't handle another Zoom call. Let's just go down until, you know, hopefully next year. And yeah, we're hoping that towards the end of the summer, we'll definitely do a get together and see how everybody's doing.
You know, there's nothing like other farm women, because like with Carrie, I could call her up, we could talk on the phone for 2 hours about pigs.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't even know that much about pigs. So, but we tell stories like, you know, like they're our kids. They're not, but, and, or the goats, or, you know, I raised that vegetable and look, it looks like some artwork, or, you know, there's always so many things. And it's just this click that you cannot have those conversations with other people because they look up like, why is that interesting? It's like, it's pigs. What do you mean? It's pigs. And they were sick, and I had to do it, you know, cut them open and see why they died. And, you know, and people were like, oh my God.
I can't believe that. And even if they don't say it, I feel it. I feel almost like maybe I shouldn't talk about this right here, or, you know, bring it up. But.
And that's interesting. Why? It's like, wait, it's so interesting. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay. So what role do you see women playing in agriculture now and in the future?
Yeah, in Denver specifically, I see a lot of women that have been in the game for a long time and leading. You know, I looked up to a lot of women that were doing the urban farming thing. I can remember when I first started, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to this person. Like, I've been looking up to them for so long and what they're doing. And I just found it amazing. So yeah, I think on the bigger scale, like, there has been women in agriculture, and maybe they just haven't been getting the recognition. And it feels really good that they are taking, like, we're hearing their voice more, and that they're taking on more of the role of education and you know, management, even managing the farms. And it feels really good to see that just in my time of starting farming 10 years later, now seeing where they're at. And I hope that keeps going that way. I hope that, you know, there's definitely more women taking on the manager jobs and not feeling like they have to do all the office work and that's their job.
Right.
So,
do you know Women Food and Agriculture Network? Are you familiar with them at all?
I have heard of them, but I have not really gotten involved, and I definitely should. It's been on my to-do list for a while.
Well, I highly recommend it because you would feel like you came home. The women that are involved are really amazing, wonderful women, and all different ages, but a lot of things going on, and they're really knowledgeable in a lot of areas. So I encourage you to check it out and see about maybe connecting in a more formal way. I'm not trying to push you to do it, but I invite you to check it out. I think you'd find it to be really, really useful.
And I think it would be, just something to share with, like, our Lady Farmers Coalition, just the bigger picture of who else is out there, and hearing other stories can be so helpful, and just having them as a resource.
So what can the government and industry and even academic institutions do to inspire the next generation of farmers?
So I think the big one for me, just from my experience and moving forward, I think, like you guys have hit on with me a couple times on this conversation, is diversifying your portfolio, like, as much as possible. You know, opening up loan programs, whether it's, you know, FSA government program or something else, but just seeing that, you know, farmers need to diversify their portfolio just as much as everybody else. So allowing a loan for buying a rental property, or at least considering as an option, for them to kind of open up the door for so much more. uh, it's like our retirement plan too. I don't know a farmer with a retirement plan really well built. It's hopefully once we have these mortgages paid off in 28 years, we'll have, something to live on when our bodies hopefully work for those 28 years. And if they don't, then we'll have to figure it out. But yeah, I think just, and making them equitable, the loans equitable. I think that's a big thing too. Loans weren't always accessible to everyone. And that's heartbreaking to me. Women, other races, it's just like, for a long time, this was not accessible to people. And I think that as we move forward, we need to make that accessible, figure out ways to make them accessible, and just give the opportunity to people, because it's not fair right now where it's at. So yeah, and I think academic institutions should always inspire, and hopefully they are inspiring the next generation to think outside of the box. And I have so much faith in the next generation. Like, I think that they're so aware, and they are so kind-hearted to like actually look at the bigger picture and holistically, so they know, how this all works together. So I really hope academic institutions are inspiring them to look at agriculture and know that it's necessary, and we need to figure out how it's going to work for everyone.
Mhm. Do you have experience with the USDA or the FSA or
I don't.
NRCS?
I haven't taken a loan from them.
Or you haven't utilized any of their programs at all?
I haven't utilized
Know their programs?
What's that?
You know of programs that they offer, like NRCS or FSA?
So I had them come out and talk. I used to run like a veterans program for beginning farmers, and it was something that it was just like, man, how do you make this accessible for them? And every time the FSA loan officer would come out, he was always he was honest, and I appreciated that about him so much, but he was always so down about farming and just the
FSA person?
Yes, he was like,
Wow.
oftentimes it doesn't work out. It's just not going to work out.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was so discouraging for them. And it was like, it was smart, but it was so discouraging. It was very honest of him, and he was very passionate about business plans and making sure that your business plan and was going to pay for the loan, and you have to have a concrete plan or the FSA isn't even going to look at you.
Mhm.
So I think it was good in one ways and bad in the other. And hopefully it inspired people more to think outside of the box and think of other ways to do it. But it was hard to hear. And I do know of other farms that have taken advantage of like FSA loans, and they have to have a big business plan, but they are in debt, and it terrifies me. Like taking a big loan, $1 million off, loan to do a farm it's a lot. You have to invest in so much equipment for big ag, and yeah, I just wasn't prepared to take that leap. I think that I had to look at other ways. I couldn't do it that way.
Well, it's really astute of you that you realize that almost everything about the FSA is farmer debt. But the NRCS, which is a National Resource Conservation Service, they have a lot of programs that are I don't know how they would work with your model, but they do have a lot of programs where they pay a certain percentage of the project. So if you needed, in a traditional sense, if you needed fencing or water in a pasture or to secure a spring, you can get a high tunnel for free. You just have to come up with the money to build it. So they have a lot of programs, but again, you have to, know what to look for, and you don't have to come up with you don't have to be in debt to utilize those services.
No, that's a really good point. That's I think that that's one thing that we didn't probably take advantage of enough during our building stages. We, personally invested so much money into
Mhm.
building each site that, yeah, the NRCS is a great resource for grants and just funding in the very beginning. It would be very advantageous, I think, in this specific scenario to look at it.
Well, you used your own money, so you got a lot of tax write-offs.
Yeah, exactly.
It shelters quite a bit of money that way.
Yes,
So
so,
it wasn't all a loss.
It definitely did. Yes, that was smart of it.
So what's your favorite frugal marketing tip?
Yes. So the thing I probably mentioned it earlier. So I started a cooperative 3 years ago. And it was just a group of 3 of us at the time that wanted to start selling vegetables. And we'd never done it before. Let's pool together and then we might actually have a stand at the market. So that was an amazing step in our development. We didn't have to work every weekend. We were having kids, I told you I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I was pregnant in 1 year. It was a lot. So there was no way I was going to work every weekend. And there was no way that they could work every weekend either. They had other part-time jobs. So it was one way that we didn't have to buy everything alone. We bought it together. We sold together time-wise. We basically shared the cost of marketing. We shared the tent and it was great. And then the following year was 6 growers, and then last year it was 5 growers, and then this year all the other farmers don't want to sell at the market, so it'll just be us. But it was a great way to start, and I think that it saved us a lot, and I didn't have to wear every hat. There was a girl that was great at Instagram. I'm not great at Instagram. There was a girl that's great at record keeping. I can be somewhat, on my record keeping, but it's great to have other people too. So I feel very fortunate that we had that for the first 3 years of starting farmers market.
so what's your most effective social media tip? You just admitted you're not good at Instagram.
I'm not great at Instagram. I will tell you that. I'm in millennials, but I think I'm just on the cusp of being a millennial. It was like Facebook started when I was in college, and it was just like way different than what it was now.
Mhm.
But I would say, just in my time and delving into it, just being authentic as much as possible and realistic and practical and showing them when there's failures. And people love that. And they just love every time I post the kids, to be honest, I get the most likes. And it's probably just the authenticity of a child and the innocence.
Mhm.
I don't know, like I'm just throwing this cover crop seed everywhere. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, that's the most important crop you're growing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they just, yeah, I think that it brightens everybody's life just to
Yeah.
feel not like this, like they're looking at this picture perfect farm all the time. They're seeing that it's okay where they're at.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you're really saying telling the story of your life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, include all parts. Don't just butter it up for Instagram.
That's right. Everybody appreciates that. So what do you think success looks like, Jamie?
For us, it's really achieving that work-life balance. So if we can work and pay for our life, and hopefully that work is fulfilling to you, you know, we could have stayed engineers. My husband was an engineer too. We could have stayed there and we could have had money. But I don't think that our hearts would have ever been fulfilled. And, there could have, who knows, right, where we would have been. But it just feels like if I wouldn't have found farming, I don't know that I could look out in the world and feel hope in a way. So yes, I think just finding something that fulfills you in work and then doesn't overwork you to the point that you don't get to live. I think that was another scary thing about farming for me was like, okay, we're working like 80 hours last summer. It was like my husband was working full time, so I was watching the kids, and I mean, it was just every night, you know, with our headlamps out there working, it felt like, is this really what we want to do? So my husband, I would say, is better about making sure that we don't work every minute of our lives. Cause I will, I mean, if there's something to do, I'll go and do it. So he definitely helps us regulate, like, okay, we're having 2 days off this year. Like, we're going to have consistent off, and that's what we're going to do. So yeah, it's been great to navigate that. And we're still working on it. I think every year we need to evaluate, are we achieving that work-life balance? Are we, you know, not? Are we making enough to pay for this life? We'll have to figure it out. But I think that would be success for us. It feels successful already, but I think that achieving, you feel like, yeah, we did it. We're making this work.
You know, we live in a culture that says we're supposed to hurry up, but we don't know what we're hurrying to. And that is the mantra in our head that's not even in writing. It's just this emotional highway that we jump onto. And then we look up one day and go, wait, why were we racing there? Our kids are gone. They left and done something, and they were just, you know, in diapers kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're terrified of is, like, you know, we have the 4-year-old. So next year he'll start school, and it just feels like, man, this is going quick. Like, he's not going to want to hang out with us soon. We better take in this first, like, years when they actually want us around.
Yeah, well, you get smarter after a while. You know, they think you're smarter after a while, but it takes quite a while.
Okay. I bet it's a journey. I feel like already it's
You're doing a lot of it. You're doing a lot of it right.
Yes.
Thank you.
I admire you. You're inspiring.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Feels good to be here.
Yeah.
So what's the best advice you've ever received?
So you're gonna laugh, but it's a farmer told me, don't farm in Colorado. And that's the best.
You didn't listen, Jamie. I don't think you've listened a lot of times.
But it honestly, like, almost like the FSA loan officer was like, I was so hit with frustration when that farmer told my class, don't farm in Colorado, to all these beginning farmers. I was like, how can you say that? The demand is so high. Like, everybody wants fresh local. But he's right. It's just too expensive in Colorado to make agriculture sustainable. So it hit me with such a force, and I sat there with the thought, and I turned it into being farming alone in Colorado is not sustainable.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's going to be a real struggle financially to make it work. So I really, again, had to think outside of the box, and was like, okay, I'm not going to take a loan out and just go buy an acre of land. Like, I don't think I can make that work. I'm going to have to figure out how I can piece this together and farm. So yeah, that's where the rental property thing came in. But it was a hard thing to hear, but it was the best advice I've ever had.
Well, great. You turned it around and turned it into a positive.
Yeah, send us that guy's name. We're going to pick on him and tell him to retire.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing great. Don't pick on them too hard. They're good farmers. We appreciate them. It's just yeah, he's seen the heartache that a lot of farmers go through, and you don't want that for anybody, but it's necessary. Like, we need agriculture. People want to be in here. We just need to figure out how to get here.
Right. You know, every vocation in life has heartache and challenges. And if you really want it bad enough, lots and lots of hurdles. And so it seems a shame for someone to come along and say to someone who has a dream, especially a veteran who's probably had some really rough experiences, to say, you have a dream, but don't try it.
Oh, I know. It was definitely one of those, take the class aside afterwards and say, okay, we're hitting him in August, and I want you to know where a farmer's mind is in August. Not always a great place. And
making it all right for that guy who's a stinker. Yeah.
Right. And I hope, you know, I left my job as the veteran, like, coordinator for those classes, but I hope that it inspired them that I left to go farm, and that I'm making it work. And I hope that at least shows them there's a chance of like following some dream of it.
Yeah, I think you found the key though, when you say doing it alone, it seems like that's kind of a mantra. You
Mhm.
found ways not to do it alone. I think that is one of the most important pieces
Oh,
that
yeah,
you bring to the table for all of us. Yeah,
definitely.
thank you. Mhm.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, you guys are awesome. I just
Oh,
appreciate what you guys are doing and getting the stories out of women in agriculture, because it's scary and hard to put our voices out there, I think sometimes, because oftentimes, I mean, people don't look at what I'm doing as a career or important. So it's scary kind of putting yourself out there that this is what I'm doing and this is my job. This is actually like I'm
Right.
making a living. So taking it seriously, it just feels good that you guys are helping that story be told and letting it evolve to something. So thank you guys.
You're our Mother Earth rock star.
Oh,
We're gonna promote you.
Yeah.
oh,
No,
thank you.
it's really inspiring, to think about how to use your resources in a way that people just haven't thought about.
Yeah,
It makes sense. Everybody's got a yard
right.
that lives in a single family house, even if it's all shaded or is right next to the next house. There's a way to grow food. So,
No,
yeah. So well done you, Jamie. Thank you. It's been a joy.
definitely. Thank you guys.
We'll be back in touch.